Let's talk about what we can learn from Napoleon and his leadership style today. He had a very paradoxical leadership style. While he was an autocrat, an authoritarian dictator, he also organized and gave autonomy to his generals in a way that allowed them to be both independent and dependent at the same time. Now, what do I mean by that? Instead of organizing his army into a single large unit, what he did was he organized his army into semi-autonomous divisions of maybe about 20 to 30,000 people. He called them corps. And these divisions were self-sufficient armies unto themselves. They could take care of themselves, they could fight a war on their own and independently. Now, the brilliance of his strategy was the fact that, all he would do is tell them what he wants them to achieve and then leave how they want to go ahead and achieve his goal up to them. And as long as they were close enough to each other so that they can support each other as and when needed, it allowed them the flexibility of how to execute on the vision, which Napoleon set in terms of what the goal was, but at the same time, the freedom to move and take decision right at the front line. Now, in a lot of ways that made sense, right? Because then the speed at which his armies could move was unmatched, because in the other armies would need to go back through the chain of commands in order to decide, make a decision, and then by the time they are willing to execute the decision, he's already changed the game. And that's exactly what's happening with us today in the world that we are operating in. Things are coming at us really fast from all sides. Technology is changing, competition is changing, new competitions coming up, replacement products coming up, government regulations changing, tariffs coming up, supply chain issues, healthcare scares. Things are coming from us, at us from all around us. If your frontline team is expecting you to make all the decisions and let them know what and how you want them to respond, you're losing precious time. And by the time whatever you made the decision and you communicate it to them and they are willing to act on it, it is quite possible that the circumstances have already changed, which means that the action that they are taking is in response to something which is no longer true. Even bigger problem. So, the learning here from Napoleon and his style of leadership is that we need to be or get comfortable decentralizing the ability to decide how a certain thing needs to be done or how to respond to competition at the front lines. That requires a lot of change, both from a culture point of view as well as from a training point of view. Because right now, the frontline folks, they are not trained or equipped to make decisions that could affect the company. Neither are they empowered to make these decisions. And if you really want them to become empowered to make these decisions, if you really want them to make these decisions, you need to teach them how to respond to emergence. So I spoke about what emergent leadership is and how do you actually practice emergent leadership in an earlier video. You can watch that as well. But to be very short and crisp, emergent leadership is when you are able to respond to an emerging situation without actually having to go back and forth the chain of command, knowing fully well what is it that you are trying to achieve and what action in the current emerging situation would allow you to achieve your goal. And actually not only being able to take the action, but also being able to take those actions and design them in the form of experiments. Now, in order for all of this to happen, you need to have a certain kind of a culture. The culture needs to be that the entire organization and the structure of the organization is defined such that it supports the frontline staff to be able to not only be independent but also interdependent, but at the same time have the discipline to take action, notice the intended, unintended consequences of their action, and then again respond to the emerging situation as and when those situations emerge, without actually having to go back and forth the chain of command. This doesn't mean that the corporate structures become indifferent. There is a difference between leaving them to become and act as independent vis-a-vis leaving something or being indifferent to whatever they are doing. That is a sure shot recipe of grinding the entire organization to the ground. But the middle path, which is the interdependent path, which means that the corporate is not only able to set the direction, but is also being able to create the culture in which the frontline staff not only is enabled, equipped and empowered, but can actually act and take action based on the emerging situation, knowing fully well what is the goal that they are trying to achieve. Think about it. We can always learn from anybody, whether it is Napoleon, or whether it is Donald Trump, or whether it is Mahatma Gandhi, or whether it is Martin Luther King. There is always something that we can learn from every single leader. Sometimes what to do, sometimes what not to do. Think about it.